Happy birthday, bitch.
Thank you. For congratulating me on turning 96. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name. Hello, hi, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? What's up? You look good. You look nice. How you doing? Where you going? My name is Victoria. If you're new here, what's up? If you're not, what's up? I do several lovely things on my channel. This thing, that thing, and the third. Sometimes I do reactions. Sometimes I talk about weight loss. Sometimes I do my makeup. Sometimes I do my makeup while I talk about a Reddit story. Sometimes I just read a Reddit story. Overall, I do whatever the hell I want. And I'm going to keep doing that, especially on Tuesdays. Today is Tuesday. And if you're new here and you don't know how my channel works, recently I decided that on Tuesdays, I would literally do whatever the hell I wanted. And then on Fridays, I would do a reaction. And right now, I do a lot of ASMR reactions. So if you hear from that, wait till Friday. And if you want to see what's going on in this video, stick around. Speaking of sticking around, subscribe to my channel. Period. Make sure you give it a like, share with your friends, grow the family, grow the community. All right. Right now, what we're going to be doing, I am having a conversation, debate-ish thing with one of my friends, one of my best friends, pardon me, give her credit.
Yeah.
Miss Shailisha Horton.
What's up?
She says, what's up? She's been on my channel plenty of times before, so she's not new here, but if you are, make sure you subscribe. Let's get started. Recently, upon a debate within my family, and I did receive permission to talk about this, we were asked the question of how fast is too fast in regard to marriage and proposals and such. The presentation of the topic is that somebody wants to, propose or has proposed at 2 months into knowing somebody. And I guess the conversation steers into what is too fast? Is 2 months too fast? And also, how would you respond to somebody getting engaged? Or you, not necessarily somebody, but how would you respond to getting proposed to at 2 months? And also, when do you think you would like to get engaged? Shailisha, I pose the question of, number one, what do you think an appropriate time period for like a proposal is?
Personally, I believe, I was raised to believe that like a man knows if he wants to marry you within the first 3 months, but knowing and doing are two different things. So I think if you know you want to marry this person, you should give it at least a year. Like have all 4 seasons with that person and make sure y'all good, because maybe he's dope in the summer, but you hate him in the fall. Maybe winter's alright, but spring you want to like choke him. You just gotta make sure that you understand kind of what you're dealing with.
We're not saying marriage. We're not saying I'm getting married at 2 months. We're saying I'm proposing at 2 months, which are two very different things.
Very different things, yes.
And you think a year is a good amount of time?
I feel like a year should be standard.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you can't tell somebody what to do, but I feel like a year should be standard. Like I think I told you with my little brother.
Yes.
Because I'm in a long-term relationship, and we decided, because we've been together for 2 years, and we decided that before we move forward with marriage, we'd like to live together for a year to see how we vibe. But that's just a personal decision of us. But he asked my little brother, who's 15, he said, hey, when do you think is a good time to marry someone? My little brother, who shocked me, was like, I feel like when you really care about someone, like 2 or 3 years maybe to actually like marry them. But that's like if you're sure and you want to be with them like 1 or 2 years, maybe 3. But like if you're not sure and like if you're really not sure, like deep down that you want to marry this person, then like 4 or 5 years maybe, like waiting longer. But if you're like sure and you love them and want to spend the rest of your life with them, then you should, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 years.
That was a mature answer.
Right.
For him to be 15.
I was like, first of all, that was a very in-depth answer. He was like, well, that's a very in-depth question. That's my little brother's answer, and I kind of agree with that. I mean,
so Kiana could not be a part of this video, but this was her general answer to it. We didn't really get to go into details or anything like that, so that's her opinion right there.
It makes sense to me. But I think baseline a year.
Okay, baseline a year. I personally think, I would say for me personally, I would say, probably 9 months. If
9 months, yeah.
9 months, I'd say like a year, because like you said, like you have to experience life with this person. Now, to say fell in love at first sight or I just know I want to be with you, those are beautiful things, and they do happen. My parents' love story is one of them. Plenty of actually my siblings' love stories, like with their spouses, are similar. But I know that love takes time, and you can say like, "Oh, I fell in love with you at first sight," but do you know what I look like in the morning for real? For real? Do you know what my cooking is like? Do you know what mental health issues I'm going to deal with? Now, I guess, and do you know what mental health issues I have? Do you know what physical health issues I have? Do you know how I deal with those? Aside from, I guess, you know, whatever I tell you, like out front, like, oh, I'm allergic to this, or I have depression. You get what I mean. Me telling you I have depression, you experiencing me going through a depressive state are two different things. So me going through those things and me telling you I'm going through those things are two different things. And you having the intention of being there forever is beautiful, but and you don't know until you really know. And yeah, sure, you can know very early on. Like I said, I can't knock it because I've never experienced it, but I feel like you have to, and I would say at least 9 months. I probably wouldn't wait a whole year if you were like, "Oh, we're getting married today. Like I love you now. Not we're getting married, but I'm gonna marry you one day because this is it." And you want to propose at 9 months? Listen, as long as you ask my daddy and he say yes, I guess it works. You like me, I like you. It works.
I agree with that. I do fully agree with that. Like the notion of, like I knew immediately that I wanted to be with you because I kind of have a story like that too. It's like you talk to the person and you're like, "Yep, it's you," you know. But like you said, you got to know what that person got going on. Like I have very severe mental health issues, and they hit in waves. Like it's not, I'm being treated for it. I'm medicated, so on and so forth, blah blah blah. And I do my coping things, so on and so forth. But when they hit hard, and I have to know, even though I'm in the process of healing and getting better, healing isn't linear, and I have to know that you're going to be able to handle that. Me and my boyfriend have very in-depth conversations about what to expect and what happens. Because he's been there for meltdowns, but he's never seen them happen. He's
Right.
never been in for them. So being us living together was a big step because of that part of me.
Because he actually has to be there now. So
yeah, like he has to see what he's getting into, and I'm like, bro, I'm telling you.
Listen, mental health, your health in general, that's no joke. And on top of like mental health, like, oh, it's draining on the other party as well as it is draining on you. Just speaking from experience, your physical health is impactful as well, and just in general, your financial state. There's so much that you know eventually, because you intend to marry somebody. You know eventually I'm going to grow to learn these things regardless, because my mom and dad have been married for 40 years and they're still learning about each other. So the learning factor is going to come regardless, but there's big chunks of a person that you have to learn. I won't say quickly, but in order to really understand, like, aside from the fact that, oh, I love you for XYZ, I have to love you for those other reasons too, for the bad stuff too, for the concerning stuff too. And that stuff might not come up within the first 2 months. But then again, and we keep saying marriage, proposals.
Well, sorry, you get proposals.
So the reason I want to go back just for like 2 seconds is because I actually want to take something I said back. Now that I think about it, I don't want to take it back. I want to add something to it. What do I want to do?
You want to alter.
I want to alter something. Because now that I think about it, that learning period, as I said, yeah, within 2 months, but within 2 months is actually a pretty good amount of time. I won't say you're going to, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're not going to watch me have a mental breakdown within the first 2 months. Ask any one of my exes, they probably saw me have a mental breakdown like 3 days into being like we're together. But it is what it is. But here's my, I won't call it a defense. Because I know people who fall in love at first sight. And I know people who have gotten married, friends in my life that have gotten married like that and are still married. They're still married 3, 4, 5 years later, are extremely happy, right? But I know people who have dated for 7 years, been married for 2 years, and got divorced. So I kind of feel like time is always going to be a factor. But if you know and the other person knows, then I guess it's actually okay. Because you can date somebody for your entire life. There's people that never ever get married and they just prefer to just date, to just like we're together but we're not married. Common law marriage. And I guess it's like it works for them. it has to work for somebody, right? So,
Right.
but so my question is for you, how would you react if somebody proposed to you at 2 months? Okay, let
I'm
me
trying
let
to
me
think
say it
of
like this.
me.
If let's say it was the man outside of like your boyfriend, it's the man of your dreams. I know like
The man I tell you what, I'm gonna tell him.
Tell him.
I don't know if I have like a perfect man archetype in my mind, but because I know that everybody's different and we kind of all give and take.
Yes.
Differently, but if I had to think of like if I think like a fairy tale princess, perfect man type of does everything, doesn't question anything, which wouldn't be a real person, but
yeah, sounds crazy. Like we really have to think about it.
Like I obviously had to think about it. If I had to think about it, like obviously I'd have to think about it. Like I said, it heavily depends on what the relationship has been the first couple months. Like my boyfriend now, if he had proposed to me in the first 2 months, I probably would have said no. You know what I mean? But it definitely depends on the contents of the relationship. But because I'm indecisive and have commitment issues, I probably would have said no.
Me, bitch. Literally. I mean, I gotta think. Hold on. It's gonna sound corny. And I promise you, when I send this to my family, they're gonna be like, girl, what? But I know the type of person I am. I'm very fearful off bat when I date pretty much anybody when I start talking to people. I'm very closed off. I do not do well with interaction at all. It seems like I do, but on intimate levels, I do not. But if I'm with somebody for, let's say it's like strict 2 months. If I'm with somebody and I'm comfortable enough to share any part of like, I made a joke earlier and was like, oh no, my ex would probably see me through a mental breakdown. Reality is, I probably, if I was having or going through something, having an anxiety attack or something, I would just hang up the phone. And I have hung up the phone because I would not feel comfortable with them seeing me go through that, as I feel as though I have to have, especially that early in a relationship, I feel as though I have to have a perfect presentation. You have to think of me as pretty. You have to think of me as put together. And that's obviously a lot of like insecurity and trauma and such. But that's neither here nor there. So I feel like if at 2 months I let go of all that and he's seen me at one of my worst, because you never really at your worst, let's be honest. If he's seen me at one of my worst and I'm comfortable with him, I'm not scared of him, as I have a lot of fear, as I said, for a lot of reasons. I'd probably say yes. I won't say reluctant. I would think about it. I would take a day or two to think to myself. And as long as he asked my dad and there were conversations had surrounding like, what you mean, or when do you want to actually get married, I wouldn't be against it. I'm assuming that this is love and not infatuation. And they feel similar, but they are very different. My assumption is that I'm in love with this man and he's in love with me. So I wouldn't get married at 2 months because, like I said, you got a long life to live and you don't want to be tied to something you're not sure about officially. You can get proposed as early as you want, but I think that as long as you take the time to continue to get to know each other, it really don't. Now I think about it, really don't matter. Like,
okay, honestly, when you start to unpack it, it's like it's very dependent on the situation, very dependent on the person, and very dependent on like what's being offered.
Right. So if you want to get married at 2 months, I would be very concerned. Like if you flew off and went to Vegas somewhere, I would be like, don't do that.
Right.
But if you want to get engaged to somebody, because it's kind of like a bigger step into a promise ring. But if you want to get engaged to somebody and be promised to this person and not want to be with anybody else, taking a step towards one person is the ball, one person is the chain, and you're not quite locked in, but you are connected, then I guess that's fine. Like, I don't actually see a problem with that. You have to get to know somebody either way. So I think that if you want to get married that early, I would be concerned, but being proposed, being engaged isn't an issue. Final question, because I've been recording for 20 minutes. So much shit's gonna get cut out. So much good shit's gonna get cut out. So for you personally, when would you like to get engaged?
If I'm basing, I can only base off my current relationship because I've been in a long-term relationship before, but they've all been like some bit toxic or bad without going into depth.
Right. I keep trying.
I can only base it on what I'm currently in, and we already have our whole deal with waiting a year, but he did give me a promise ring, which he said was almost an engagement ring. Oh. And I thought very genuinely, if he asked me then, would I have said yes? And I think at that moment, I probably wouldn't have. Not because I don't love him, and not because I don't want to marry him, but because I was in a very rough point in my life. I had just come off of probably one of the biggest things that ever happened to me in a bad way, like a really bad accident. So I think I was still healing. But if he'd asked me, like, right now, like, if I walk up to him and say, hey, Shai, you remember me? Like, sure, yeah.
I feel that. I don't know. I think for me personally, just because I'm trying to think. I would say a year. Comfortably, like if I'm like really, really in love with this person, like I said earlier, 9 months. But I would say like a full 360 around the sun, because I have a big family, and I have a lot of family events. We have a lot of things that we go through as a family, and not only does that take up a lot of my time, but my family quite literally means the world to me. So I would want that person to try to be at a lot of family events throughout the year. Who do you get along with? Who do you not get along with? Do you have, as people, do you have compatibility? Am I going to spend the rest of my life worried about how this person feels about you? Am I going to end up severing a relationship for you? Which, in some cases does happen for some, and in other people are cordial, and other people end up, it just works out perfectly. But I would have to see you at family events. And on top of that, I would also I gotta see what you're like drunk. I gotta see how you act when you're not you. You feel me? Because 2 months is fine. Like, you might have a drink here or there. You're on your best behavior in the beginning of the relationship, but like 6 months in, I gotta see what your real fuck ups look like. I have to see what you fucking up really looks like in order for me to like make a really good decision for me as a person. Can I deal with this? He keeps getting DUIs. He keeps fighting homeless people. I don't know if this works for me. Like, I have to approach things like analytically along the way. On the other side of that, people who wait 10 years to get married, like to get engaged, I mean, like you were with somebody for 10 years and then you decided to get married late, and it's 9 times out of 10 not even a matter of like, oh, you wanted to marry them, you couldn't. I would leave somebody if I was with them for more than 3 years, 4 years.
That's kind of my feeling too. Like, I think I told my boyfriend this because he made a passing joke about us dating for 10 years before getting married. And I feel like at some point, if you're with somebody that long, you live with them and everything, why aren't you marrying them? Like, I know some people have like a weird thing against marriage, especially the societal like view of what marriage has been in society. So I can understand it, but at some point, like when you want to marry somebody, you talk about marriage, kids, and you date somebody for 10 years and don't marry them, it feels like you're wasting their time.
And also, as my mother would say, why marry the cow when you can get the milk for free? This statement refers to marriage. I'm not going to let somebody into my mental space, my intimate areas, my spirit, whatever. I don't want to be with somebody that I know in the long run doesn't really want to be with me. And I know a lot of us like to play the waiting game and be like, he'll come around, she'll come around, they'll come around. No, they won't. They'll come around out of desperation, but they really won't. They'll come around when they feel guilty. And I don't mean that for people that are like, oh, I don't want to get married for XYZ reason. I mean that for the people who are like, yeah, I'll marry you eventually. They don't really want to marry you. At least that's how I feel. That might not be true, but that's how I feel. If you're making somebody wait 10, 15, 20 years, for what?
Like, because I know LGBT relationships.
Those relationships where marriage either was not legal or getting married for like personal reasons may be difficult in regard to like sexuality, I don't know, like physical health, stuff like that. Stuff that you're like, okay, this is beyond my control. Those are reasons that I'm like, okay, I understand why you may not be able, like you can't get married or you want to enter into a partnership. But for people that you ain't got nothing going on, and you're telling your significant other, I'll marry you eventually, or you're like, oh, I just want to live life, then be single. Like, I want to live life, but I don't want to live life alone, but I don't really want to be with you, but I know you'll wait for me. Be single.
Right. Right.
That has been today's video officially. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, like I said earlier, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my channel. I make videos on Tuesday and Friday. My social media is in the description box thingy below. If you have any topics you want me to talk about, make sure you leave them in the comments below. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How do you feel? When you think you should get married? When you think is too late? When you think it's too early? Okay, I'll see you on Friday. And probably another day that corresponds with the day that corresponds with the day. Bye.
Oh, my voice, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck was that?
I went through puberty.
You sounded like Khal Drogo. That was scary.